This video is all about good habits. What I will not be talking about today is how you can form good habits or start good habits, because that's what everybody talks about pretty much, and that's the problem. The fact that a great majority of people who give advice on this topic focus almost exclusively on the establishment of good habits is the reason why so many of us end up failing in the long run, time and time again. Because riding on a wave of motivation to start good habits comes very naturally to most of us. But when it comes to maintaining that habit, maintenance is the single hardest thing regarding any habit or goal you want to pursue. It always will be. And one phrase that has changed my life and that can summarize this video pretty well is, if it is a nightmare to maintain, it is not your dream. In the past, every time I had a burst of motivation, and this is something crucial to understand, that motivation is not something that is constant. It never will be, and so you can't rely on it. You can use it sometimes, and we'll see this later, but it can't be the foundation of you maintaining good habits. And so every time I would have a burst of motivation, I would always tell myself, this 250th time, she's the one. This is the time I'm gonna change and turn my life around for good. And so what I would do when that motivation came is that I would go so hard and do everything perfectly. To absolutely no one's surprise, this would last a couple weeks maximum. After a couple days or a couple weeks, what would happen is that as soon as I would hit a down, and I'm talking about the down as in the ups and downs of life that will happen forever, I would just give up completely on my habit or habits because I couldn't keep up the level at which I was implementing them in the beginning. I'd end up blaming myself and feeling like a huge failure for not being able to keep up these 5 habits that I just shoved suddenly into my life. And yeah, I would feel pretty terrible about myself. And from what I've heard from people around me, and I'm sure this happened to you at least a couple of times, this is quite a common issue. But now, and for the past year, and for the first time in my entire life, I feel very productive and satisfied with my life. And I have the biggest amount of good habits that I've established in my life. And it doesn't ever feel unnatural, or it doesn't require tons of effort like it used to. And this is coming from someone who is kind of pathologically lazy and also goes through a lot of ups and downs, especially when it comes to my motivation, mood, and energy because of hormones. If you know, you know, and I'm really sorry for you if you know. So here's the key. I think most of us have heard the Buddhist saying, the only constant in life is change, right? Well, this is true for any human and their life. Accordingly, your habits need to be able to shapeshift and adapt to your constantly varying physical and mental states as you go through all sorts of events in your life. It's all about doing a little bit of creative thinking and planning at the start so that you end up with a flexible and failure-proof system that is 100%, and this is very important, tailored to you so that you can maintain good habits forever. Because if you think about it, if you create these rigid expectations and you set these rigid expectations and you create these rigid habits in a life that is very fluid by nature, then you're sure to fail. There's no way you can succeed in the long term. And then you'll end up blaming yourself, which is really unfair because you're kind of setting yourself up, not intentionally, but still, for failure from the start. This all starts with the understanding that until the end of your life, there will always be days, weeks, and sometimes months, unfortunately, where you're just not going to be able to live and act at full capacity. For a bunch of different reasons, you're sometimes going to feel sick, stressed, super busy, tired, very low, what have you. That's just what it is. Therefore, when you're trying to think about habits that you not only want to establish in your life, but you want to entrench them and keep in the long term, and just if you're considering a lifestyle change, then you also need to plan. You can't just plan for the version of you that's always motivated and feeling your best, etc., etc. You also have to plan for the cranky, tired, kind of burned out and or sick version of you. So how do we do this? It is super simple. Start by picking one habit that you want to establish, and after having picked one, you will create categories for that habit. Technically, you can create however many categories you want, and you'll see why. But for now, let's just keep it simple. I'm gonna do 3 categories. The first category will be for when you are feeling low or very busy. The second category will be for when you feel okay and when you have stuff to do, but you also have a bit of time. And the third category will be for when you have extra time and or extra energy and motivation. Then for each habit, you must find variations both in intensity and in form that you know that the version of you at a specific time will be able to do. And it goes without saying, but it's very important. You need to be as honest and as real with yourself when you're doing this. Now that we've talked at length about the theory, I'm gonna give you some practical examples that I've noted here so that you can visualize what I mean. The first example I chose is exercise because I feel like that's one that we really all want to establish in our life because it is so vital to our health. So let's go. Firstly, when you're at your lowest and or your busiest, I would say, for me at least, what I put in the first category is going for a short walk and or stretching. When you're in this state of mind, the lowest physical and or mental state of mind, the priority is just making sure that you're moving your body in some way. In the second category, which is the intermediate one, when I have a little bit more time and energy, I like to go on a long walk. I like to do some yoga, and sometimes I like to do just like a little bit of abs or body weight exercises at home. Finally, when I have at least an hour and I have energy and motivation, I like to do either what I call sweaty cardio, any type of cardio that just makes you sweat quite a bit, or some weightlifting. The second example I chose is the other most common one, I guess, when we're talking about good habits, and that is food. And when I talk about food, I'm talking about the good habit in the sense of you making sure that you're eating nutritious food and getting enough of your nutrients and vitamins and minerals and proteins and healthy fats every single day. And the examples that I have noted down relating to food are supposed to help you with your grocery list. Because first of all, it's going to help you buy things that you're actually going to have time and energy and a desire to eat and cook. And 2, it's going to make sure that you're always going to have some good nutrients and vitamins and minerals. So in the first category, which is again, when you're feeling at your lowest, your laziest, your busiest, I would say that Uber Eats, Deliveroo, DoorDash, anytime you order takeout, I would say try to reserve the few occasions that you're going to do that for that first category. Other than ordering takeout, what I put in this first category is basically anything that takes like 5 minutes to make. So very minimal heating, very minimal cooking, and then very minimal washing afterwards. So for example, sandwiches. And what's great with sandwiches is that you can pack them with veggies and healthy things. And also you can switch up your sandwiches a lot. There's a great variety of ingredients that can go in sandwiches, so that's really great. Lastly, what I put in this category are just like individual ingredients that I like to have at home for when I'm really busy, because like when you mix them together, you can just really quickly get a meal that's pretty yummy and pretty nutritious, such as cans of tuna, instant rice, frozen ready meals, fruit. Oh, and if you like nuts also go in that category. The second category are meals that you can cook, I would say, in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops. The ones I wrote, and again, this is purely just inspiration, but do whatever you want with it. Potatoes, sweet potatoes that you just have to like put it. I have an air fryer, but you can do it in the oven or you can boil them. Fried rice. Fried rice is really the holy grail of category 2, and it always has been in my life. And I also put an onion omelet with some toast. I recommend it. It's super yummy. The last category is what I would call your best meals. It's when you have really that motivation to cook, when you have the time. And it often involves you having to cook several different things at the same time. I would say every time you save online or on social media a recipe that you find really yummy, for example, some sort of lasagna, homemade pasta, some sort of Asian soup, I feel like it would go in this category. And again here, please be as realistic as you can, because ultimately that's really what's gonna make you win. And remember that the goal is for you to actually stick to these things and be able to get as many nutrients and still, because you are what you eat, so just get as many unprocessed foods as possible, even in periods where you just don't have time and you can't be asked to cook. And also it's gonna save you a ton of money, whether it's because you're gonna order less takeout or you're just not gonna waste food that you shop for and then can't be bothered to cook. So that's a huge factor as well. The last example is a really short one, and it's language, but you can insert pretty much any skill or hobby that you have instead of language. In the first category, I put Duolingo, because if you really can't be asked to study at all that day, the language that you're studying, you click on Duolingo on your phone. It kind of feels like you're playing a game, and it's like 5 to 10 minutes tops, and you can tell yourself that you've done your language study for the day. Number 2, the intermediate category, is actually consuming content in your target language. So this can be books, mangas, webtoons, comics, podcasts, YouTube videos, series, movies, songs, what have you. Finally, the big boss level, when you have extra motivation, you can engage in self-study, so you can study vocabulary and grammar. You can actually take a course either online or somewhere in your city every week, or sign up to a school. And you can also find a way to engage in conversation with people who are fluent and or native in your target language. So these were just examples so that you can just, it would help you understand in more concrete terms what I meant. But please, by all means, you can completely modify anything that I've said, and actually you should if you don't relate to it at all. The goal here is to really make something that will fit you so well that it'll blend into your life very seamlessly and feel just very natural. And I would like to say, don't worry, because even though I did mention that it takes a little bit of planning at the start, that's really just at the beginning. Like, I think you'll probably do it like once or twice. I can't even remember if I did it twice. But you just need, obviously, to do it once just to even map out all of the different variations of that habit so that you get an idea. But very quickly, it's going to become second nature for you to just like be able to adapt your habits to your current situation. For instance, what I do now very naturally is that I'll just assess my energy levels and the time I have on any given day, and I'll adapt accordingly. I'm extremely flexible, and I have alternatives for pretty much any and every situation. I just make sure that the good habit in question is there, but the degree to which I perform it on any given day has no bearing on my mood. Like, I do not try to control it. I just adapt. Sometimes for a couple of days, weeks, and at worst months, yes, I can only live in level 1 and 2, but I just roll with that. I never try to resist the reality of my current state of mind and physical state and situation. And as a result, paradoxically, compared to when I was trying to go hard and only live in level 3 all the time, now that I'm so flexible and I've adopted this mindset and system, I feel healthier, more productive, and more confident than I've ever felt in my life. One final tip that is very important, and I know we've all heard this 100,000 times, but it's just because it's so true and it applies here as well, and that is to not compare yourself. You cannot compare yourself to anyone and their habits because they are not you. They do not have your exact schedule. They do not have your exact current circumstances. They do not have your past. They do not have your brains and neurons. They don't have your DNA, your genes. They don't have the same relationships as you, just nothing, okay? This is why the whole point of this video is to create a system that is so specifically tailored to you that it just becomes a part of you. And by becoming a part of you, it will last forever. All right, that's all for today. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye.